All right, hello wine drinking people. We're back. It's Tuesday, the 4th of October, and a lot of drinking going on here this month at the Wine Watch and at Cafe Max. We've got a couple other people we've been hanging out with to drink. We got a dinner, I think, going on at Blue Moon Fish Company this week, and at the Ritz-Carlton in Fort Lauderdale. Check it out on our calendar of events. This is one event. It was not publicized. It was a private tasting that a friend of mine invited me to, and whenever someone calls me up on the phone and says, we're doing a Quinterelli versus Dalforno tasting, I immediately clear off the calendar and say I'm available. And this was at La Brochette, which is a restaurant out in Cooper City that's been open for 20 years now, I think since 1993. I have to say, a really well planned out event, although way too much food. Everyone would have left just as happy if the portions were cut about in half here. Okay, well, we did have some pretty heavyweight wines also. Dalforno and Quinterelli both weighing in at 17% alcohol. So we had 3 vintages of each wine. Well, we started out with a little Cava to go with the Petit Fours. This is Agostitore Mata, which I haven't reviewed the event I went to down at Bistro Moderne yet, but that should be coming out in a day or so. One of the greatest producers of Cava that I have ever experienced. And we started out with this Gran Reserva 2007. It's 100% Macabeo, which there's 3 grapes in Cava, Macabeo being the most important, kind of like there's 3 grapes in Amarone, Corvina being the most important. So this had no dosage at all. Penedès is much further south than Champagne, so the grapes naturally have more sugar, more richness in them, and Augusta told me you really don't need to dosage the wines like they do in Champagne because of the high level of acid they have naturally in those wines. But this wine had a lovely freshness to it, kind of quince and tangerine fruit with hints of ginger spice, a little almond there as well. Really fresh on the palate and, tiny bubbles, but just exploding in your mouth. This is one of the few producers that actually puts the disgorgement date on the bottle, and he doesn't send his wines out to market or doesn't disgorge them until they're ordered. So there's nothing sitting around in warehouses across the globe that's being shipped around. Well, it probably is a little bit, but still, he does his best to ensure that you get a fresh product, and there's not many people that are willing to do that because they want to hide the fact that the wine was disgorged 3 years ago. If it's sitting around the market, they don't want you, the consumer, to know that. But everything in this lineup, outstanding. Wait till the review on Agostitore Mata to come out later. But this Gran Reserva was fabulous with the Petit Fours and really nice with the crab cakes, the super crab cakes, which, this was the only course that was appropriately sized, but it had just the correct amount of stuffing in there with the crab, and to me a crab cake should be 90% crab, lightly breaded and fried and served with a lovely spicy sweet chili sauce and a really nice pairing with the Cava. Okay, hey, we're not here to talk about Cava, we're here to talk about Amarone. And the first flight, well, we had a Tommaso Bussola wine as an aperitif also. Not really an appropriate aperitif, though, Amarone, but this was one wine that stood out, and it was a TB Veneto Alto 1999 out of Magnum. Just a cornucopia of dried fruit here, plums, black cherry, hints of brown spice, dried sausage, cocoa, really exotic on the nose. Lovely silky texture on the palate with just a ton of that sweet sun-dried fruit and a nice hand of spice there. Really nice balance, sweet, but still had lovely freshness there. Most excellent juice. All right, well, we had a grilled lamb T-bone up on the steak. I'm sorry, the first course we had was the crispy duck, which was really nice, and just the risotto cake a little bit large. The Grand Marnier sauce, I would like a little more Grand Marnier, but hey, I like drink for professionally, so maybe everyone else was fine with that. But a really nice dish, the grilled lamb T-bone. 2 of them. I think we could have done with just 1, but really nice with the grilled eggplant, and the sauce you serve with that also went really well with the Amarones, which we started out with the 1991 Quinterelli, and this could have been the best wine on the table for a lot of people. And it's ironic because I looked at it, I said 91. Who brought that? Why didn't they bring the 90? Well, Jose, let me tell you, man, your wine, one of the wines of the night, 91. Great producers make great wines every year, and this wine had a lovely complex nose. Again, that dried cocoa meats and that Play-Doh minerality that you get out of the clay, the minerality that coming from Valpolicella to me reminds me of Play-Doh, and a host of dried fruit aromas there too, and just silky smooth on the palate. This 91 was just singing. The 97 Quinterelli Amarone, wow, just like ×2 this 91 in intensity, and the wine of the night for me. I love the 97 vintage. The Reciotos from 97, off the charts good, and the Amarones and the Al Zero, one of my favorite wines of all time. But this wine just had an incredible incredible bouquet on it, incredible spice, dark cocoa, and just lovely fruit to it. You could tell this wine has got another 10 years in your cellar, at least 97, although, maybe starting to reach the plateau of drinking years. The concentration in this wine is just off the charts. 2000, a very good vintage in Amarone. This wine's still a bit young, sweet black cherry liqueur with notes of dark cocoa spice, exotic tea-like nuances, and that salty kind of chalky Play-Doh also kind of coming out in the nose here, and wonderful richness on the palate. These wines have been described maybe as a little sweet, and Quinterelli, complete opposite style of Dalforno. He dries his grapes longer. He uses large oak instead of small new French barrique, and he keeps his wine in oak for a very long time. Some wines up to 10 years he keeps in oak. So when he releases them, man, they are ready to drink. This wine had a lovely polished, smooth, velvety texture on the tongue, and still young, but I like young Amarone. Something about when they dry the grapes, the tannins become much more manageable and somewhat more drinkable. All right, well, the dinner course was spinala steak, which I never heard of that. It's just a cap ribeye. But man, the marbling in this, just incredible. The tenderness of this steak was just out of this world. I took, as you can imagine, half of it home and had for lunch the next day, and it was still fabulous. But this was perfect with the Dalforno. He served a hoisin sauce, which usually that sauce would just overwhelm any wine you put next to it. But with Amarone, it's hard to overwhelm Amarone. We had 93, 94, and 2003 Dalforno. And if you'd have told me that, man, I was going to like the 93 the best, oh, I've had this wine a couple of times. I wouldn't say you're crazy. It's not considered a great vintage, though, but the 93 Dalforno, just an incredible wine. Lovely dark spices, black cherry liqueur-like fruit, bit of that clay-like Play-Doh minerality showing, and lovely richness on the palate still. Lovely smooth texture. Dalforno just a little richer, not quite as sweet, and has a little more tannin to the wine as well. That due to the small barrique, one of the things New Oak does is add tannin to the wine also. A big wine, but a lot of everything with this wine. Killer juice, this 1993 Dalforno. 1994 was kind of going back and forth for a while which one was better, but the 93 eventually won out. It was just a length on the finish, but the 94 most excellent also. And then 2003, kind of an atypical vintage for Dalforno. The wine is very, very sweet and liqueur-like and concentration, and really drinkable for such a young wine from him. This lovely brown spice and the lovely forward bouquet, very seductive, but like I said, kind of atypical, not near as big and on the finish as these other wines. Much more drinkable, much more approachable, but excellent stuff nonetheless. That is what I had to drink at our Dalforno and Quinterelli tasting. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember,